So Cecilia is going to start this game, and so every single game from here on, it could be a game clincher. So Cecilia is going to start with QI. Very standard.
You know what I would do here.
You would play QI one spot over to set up the X, I'm guessing, right?
I would. That's one of my favorite plays. The word QI is the word that appears in Scrabble the most often. And honestly, I've played so many games where the first play was QI, and I sort of got tired of them. They seem to develop in similar fashions, like some sort of staircase, underlaps and overlaps. Just I'm sure we've all seen those Scrabble boards where small plays are being made. In the higher levels, there's a few small plays, then there's a bingo. Anyways, it's just gotten to me. So now just about every time I have the QI play ready to go, I decide I'm going to move it over one spot. It's definitely worse. It's almost always worse to do that. But I've gotten so tired of it. I don't know what other players think of it. And it's also sort of psychological. Your opponent's like, wait, what is this person doing? That's such a weird play. Normally, you really just want to keep those consonants next to those double letter scores. So by moving QI over, it's definitely not as good. So anyways, back to Austin. He finds his top play of Owl. I'm not sure if that's the best play. That is the play recommended. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, all these plays aren't that fun to play. It's like they score less than 20 points, and I'm fine with Owl. I guess what do you dislike about it? Maybe Own because you have Oil now as a potential hook, but aside from that, I think one of those two seem pretty good.
Yeah, no, keeping Own is a great idea. It does the exact same thing as Owl. It only takes Owl takes a Y hook actually. Owly is a word. But yeah, Own, it removes that possibility. The L is usually worse than the N, but on this board, you have the hook to OI of Oil. There's only one more hook in the game. It's the K, so it could be better to just keep that L.
Yeah, and so with that,
however, if you had played Own, she would have exhaling through that N. So hey, if we're Austin, we should be happy with that slight decision there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, how one tile can change everything. So, and that's honestly the kind of break Austin needs right now. Like choosing Owl and not even knowing that Cecilia would have a 90-point bingo otherwise if he chose Own. Like those are the breaks he needs at this point. If he's going to win this, he needs to get all of those close decisions exactly right for the game. So Cecilia is making a setup play. Oh man, this is so cool. So as you may know, or you probably do know, axe is a word. X is also a word. So Cecilia is setting up X, he, and axe next turn for a boatload of points. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, putting the A there, putting the E there, both plays are really great to set up the X on the next turn. It's not likely to work out. I would say maybe it works out a third of the time where she's able to cash that setup. But if Austin does play underneath with HE, she still gets Hex. So that's an amazing play. We love setup plays. We saw Jackson Smiley, who lost to Austin in the semifinals yesterday, make a few of those plays. And now we've seen it in Cecilia's arsenal for, I think, the first time. And we love this. What a play.
Yeah, I mean, this is really cool. I wonder what Austin's going to do as a response. Do you infer the X here necessarily if you're Austin, or could she be holding other stuff with that?
I have to infer the X because she could just play Hyla for one more point, moving that A over to that double letter score. And I mean, these players know their 4-letter words. So Austin, if he knows that Hyla is also a valid word in this dictionary, he has to be like, what's going on here? Is she really trying to pull this on me? So it's very interesting. He's going to play Freon, it looks like, which is a good play.
Yeah, Freon looks a bit better for this board than Felon, even though RV is probably slightly better than LV, just because sliding the E one spot over, which Felon would do, does allow for more big plays. So I like this idea of Freon. Would you prefer Freon or Felon here?
I like Felon here, just for the reason you said. I mean, Austin is behind, so keeping that V and that R works much better if that E is out there in the open.
And I guess HO does take a front hook of R,
as
so
well.
the R could be a valuable tile. I didn't think about that right away. Yeah, that's a cool reason for Felon, but he would have had Savored also. Oh, but he has Salvoed as an option here, so he will likely take a lead, and we'll see if he gets the double-double.
Yeah, that would be humongous.
Yeah, it looks like Cecilia isn't concentrating on there yet, but yeah, there's
a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think GYBE under Freon making Hog and Any. I think that's a very good option. It actually sets up the X again in a less, well, it could be a bigger spot actually if you go all the way down. That E would be right on top of that double letter score. So if you get a play like Exile or Exalt on your next move, that would score 60 points. So I like the play of Jibe here. It scores 40 points by itself, and it sets up the X once again. But she's not, and she doesn't give up on that setup.
Yeah, interesting. So she looks like she's going to play a bit more defensively here. G only takes a back hook of, oh, well, she's picking it back up, so I shouldn't speak too soon. But the G only takes a back hook of an O or an I. So whereas Jibe, as Josh said, the E takes many back hooks, like the F and the H, all those sorts of tiles. So, she's trying Bruxy. Braxy is the word. So actually, earlier in this tournament, someone was playing Braxy, and I said, "Oh, would you play Brax to set up Braxy?" And the person's like, "What are you talking about? Brax isn't a word." Because I was thinking of Brux. So it's really funny that Cecilia is now doing the opposite.
I mean, that person was me, Morris. Like you can say me by name. Wasn't it me?
It was Matt Kennick.
What?
It was Matt Kennick.
I remember saying, okay, maybe I said it to myself. I was in the comfort of my own home just watching, and I thought I don't know. I have these memories of just commentating with you every day, but we have other commentators, obviously. So it was Matt Kennick saying Brax isn't a word. I was probably on my seat saying, no, Brax isn't a word. Brax isn't a word. But luckily Matt Kennick was there, I guess. Okay, fair enough.
So we will see the valid word Cecilia plays here. It looks like she's focused on making Hob. That can often be the case if you're locked into a specific three-letter word. It doesn't even occur to you that, oh, I could play Jibe here because you don't think of Hog. So maybe that happened here, but this is also a really solid idea, to be honest, I think. If you don't want to open up any huge bingo spots here, if you're Cecilia, then it seems fine. And honestly, when you're holding such clunky tiles, it's often good to slow down the game a bit.
Yeah, I think this is just a situation where she just missed the Y hook on the AN, making Any. It's a bit weird to put a Y there. But yeah, so we're going to see Salvoed here, not scoring as much as it would have been. I think I saw her wave in her camera. I think her 3-year-old managed to get in the room just to say hi for a bit. I'm sure the whole family is very excited about this. So yeah, Austin's going to play Salvoed. He's going to take the lead, but Cecilia still has that X. That's a really good tile. She can just play Flaxy next to the O and the E and Salvoed for a ton of points.
Or Flax.
That would be amazing. I mean, you're taking 16 points less to set up your Y, because the only thing, so if you play Flax next to Salvoed making O, F, E, L, and DA, or you just play Falx, which is just, or Faux actually.
Faux, yeah.
That's probably better than Flaxy, honestly. I don't know how much Flaxy scores if we could see the options pulled up here.
Yeah, if we could simulate...
Yeah, it scores even less. So yeah, this is definitely the play, but obviously a setup of making Flax would be really cool.
I'm curious how much worse Flax does. Okay, so we can see it does significantly worse according to the engine. Cecilia is much better than me. I want to make that cool looking play, but she makes the right play of Faux.
Yeah, takes the lead again. And
Austin has Gaudier, so that would come down with Royal.
That's definitely what Austin needed here. Yeah, it closes down the board. It's a bingo. I mean, that's all you can hope for, especially after you've just played a bingo. We call it a bingo bango. We'll see if he gets the bongo next turn.
Yeah. Or a bungo the turn after. So she could have oxeye coming up here, which will be a nice score. I think I'd be surprised.
OXEYE, right?
Yeah, OXEYE, oxeye. So I'm guessing that's going to be her play if she sees it. I don't really think there's anything else to consider. Just score so much, 45 points here to take the lead. Oh, no, be behind by 9 points. That would be exactly what she sort of needs here. And Austin could also have Zenith the turn after off of EF and DA in Salvo and Foe. So we can maybe see 2 40-plus point plays. I mean, Zenith, that scores so many points.
I think it's 58. And even Azine.
Oh my god, I missed
A
that.
and Salvo, which is 72 points. And Exome, which is a great play as well by Cecilia. It scores 3 fewer than Oxeye. But that Y might be helpful to score with, going with that S and that L. The Y can be used as a vowel and as a consonant in some cases. So yeah. Anyways, he's gonna play Azine, which is even better than Zenith. So we were talking about putting an E putting a vowel next to that spot somewhere else on the board. As you can see, the bonus squares are all symmetrical. Those spots can be humongous if you get the right tile.
And as we said about Austin before we started games today, for him, the scoring never stops. And we've seen in every single match he's had at least one 70-plus point non-bingo. This is just one example of it. So it looks like she's going to play Junkie now. A really nice way to score a bunch and get rid of a lot of clunky tiles. Oh, is she considering just playing Junk? That would be crazy.
Yeah, but there's also a higher scoring option of a KUMYS, making Hobbs on the left side of the board, which would score 47 points and keep that J for future scoring. That could be an Austin type play if you want to score for 2 turns in a row. However, here I think keeping that S is pretty good. There isn't much, as we were mentioning in the past few games as well. There haven't been many places to put an S in these games. That's just how the boards have developed, but keeping an S is still very, very useful.
Yeah, that is interesting. Kumis does keep the E and Azine open, which would have been the most valuable bingo spot. And meanwhile, Austin is playing Nth, which is probably the right play here.
It's funny you pronounce it Nth.
Would you do Nth?
I think, yeah. I mean, that's how I learned it, to the Nth.
To the Nth degree. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So
I like that. I like Nth. I might start saying it that way. I mean, you can pronounce the words however you want in Scrabble. Doesn't matter. It's not a pronunciation game.
Yeah, although for commentary, some people are probably wishing I was a bit more precise. So I apologize for that. But hopefully we can give you a lot of other content that you guys like.
Yeah, I really hope. And thanks for everyone for joining. I hope this match is everything we all hope for. It is for me, and definitely for Morris. And remember to like and subscribe if you like this content. There's so many more videos like these that you can rewatch if you haven't had the time. You can show to your friends. Just grow the game of Scrabble. That's all we all want here.
Couldn't have said it better. So meanwhile, Cecilia has the W and the M, which are a bit clunky. I'm actually not seeing a great spot for the W on this board right now. Ooh, Swarm is a nice idea, though. So that would be off of Beg. She could play Begs and Swarm. That scores 49. That would be a really cool idea. Also, if we look at the bag, both blanks are still out. There's still a lot of E's, a lot of S's. All the T's, or except for one, since Austin just played a T, all the T's are unseen. So I think you're fine with getting rid of the S there if you're Cecilia, but OW is also perfectly reasonable. I would definitely prefer Swarm if you see it, but OW is a good idea too.
Yeah, Swarm is a huge play here. Cecilia's down by over 70 points. That'll cut her deficit down by more than half, and it'll go for those blank tiles that you really want to draw here. Since already half of the tiles have been played, you might be worried that your opponent already has one of the blanks. Looks like she's seeing worms, which is a similar idea that doesn't open anything, which might be key here since we know Austin's rack is quite good. He has truant with a blank. If she decides for worms for 10 fewer points just to not open anything, that might be very interesting. But there's probably has a bingo. Oh, she sees swarm. I mean, that's just
that
the
would give
natural
him
play.
truant tree through the R.
Nice find.
So it would make a blank Y. I only saw it because you said truant with a blank. Okay. So I was thinking the word after that point. So thank you.
You don't have to say that. You can take the credit.
I'll take the credit then. But Austin immediately sees truant tree, not because Josh said it, because Austin cannot hear Josh. So Austin will further extend his lead here. And he's in really good shape to win this game, which is a win he really needs. Often when you're down 3-0 in this kind of situation, you love to just be up by almost 100 and just be able to relax and say, okay, I'm starting to get back into shape here. I am getting close to this win. Just keep on doing your thing. You're on the right track now. Often the first sort of win and sort of comfortable position really allows you to lock into your best self.
Exactly. This is exactly the confidence that Austin needs to claw his way back. Since he is down 0-3, Cecilia drawing what is it? OOEE something.
A D. She kept LO last time.
Yeah, so OOEED, definitely not what you want to see here. But she has a nice 3-0 cushion. So if she does drop this game, which she might not, she might still have time to come back with something like Oleo, OLEO, and JO. She still has that cushion of 3 games. Any game she wins is game over. So it's still match point regardless. She could play Oleo and Hobo as well, which is another interesting option. But she might want to start opening things up.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, honestly, that she's only 92 points down, just because Austin's had 3 bingos to her none, and he's had a 70-point non-bingo. So you would think it would be like a 200-point game by now, just based on that information. But Cecilia's just found 30, 40-point plays basically every single turn. And it's not as good as getting 3 bingos in a 70-point C play, but it's better than you probably hope for most of the time when you hear your opponent does that.
Absolutely. So she's considering Lewd, which is actually LOOED. That's actually a great play. I mean, it opens a lot of the board, and she's down by so much. She really needs to get that board open at some point. It is kind of dangerous, but I mean, she's sort of starting to get into desperation mode at this point in the game. She needs more than just a bingo to get back into it. So I like that idea. I don't know if the execution is ideal. What would you do here, Morris?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think one issue I have with Lou is it's pretty easy for Austin to close after that if you can make any parallel play to it. So in this case, you could do app, for instance, making AL, PO, and PO, and that would make it so the only words that could go there are 9s. So I actually don't love committing to opening up that side of the board in that way. I would probably, I need to think about what I would do. Like something like oodle. Oh no, oodle doesn't fit. But
also not a word.
Oh, oodles is the only. It's only.
Yeah, we saw Jason Keller play oodles. It's only good with the S.
Yeah, and so you can see Austin right away blocks this, and that's why I think it's a tough play to make something like Lou, just because it's not hard to think about how to block that. I'm wondering if she should have tried to do something parallel to Gaudier instead. I'm not sure what that could have even really been, but that was why I was hesitant about that at first.
Yeah, there's still 9s. She could get a 9-letter word at some point. Who knows? Still lots of game to be played here. What are you looking to do here? I think get rid of that V.
Yeah, so one thing I would start to look at ways I could end with an 8-letter word with O-N-E through the E and A sign, making J-O and U-N, or O-T, but I think O-N-E is much more common. But I would start looking at the bag, trying to think about, if I'm going to win this game, what are the sort of bingos I could even fish for here? Something like ravigote would be an example word that could do that. Yeah, if we could look at the tile pool, maybe we can see what words could
Oh, there are a
produce.
lot of I's, but there's
So
only one G.
there's only one G.
Two
There's
R's.
2 R's. So ravigote might be something like that, but I wouldn't get rid of the O here. I think the O is a super valuable tile for bingoing potential given the board. So I would definitely try to keep that. What would you look to do here, Josh?
I need to score something, right? Yeah, I mean, keeping that open is interesting, not only just for the outlandish possibility of getting an O-T-E or O-N-E word next to junkie, but also maybe just getting a 6-letter word that opens up the board on that side would be very nice for Cecilia. However, she might not have time for that. I'm thinking of playing veto and J-O here. Because that puts an E somewhere on the board. It's really hard to close it down without creating another spot. So something like that might pop into my mind, but it only scores 17 points. So I'm not really sure. This is a very, very tough spot for sure.
And I really like this idea. So she's getting rid of letters that wouldn't end in the O-N-E or O-T-E. So, and it even could potentially set up her O here, since Oda is a word. So I think this sort of idea is really cool. It also could allow her to make a play on the other side the next turn, since Dale is a word.
Yeah, very interesting. For a moment there was the top. He added our producer added it to the simulation because it's not one of the first recommended plays, and for the moment there it was at the top. As we can see, it was in 5th place at the end of this short simulation. But that just goes to show the creativity necessary in these sorts of positions to try and claw your way out of it.
She picked up that last G insanely, so she could go for Ravigote now. There are so many I's left, and there are 2 R's unseen to her. Now we know Austin has one of them, so she would need to get the R in the right way. But man, if she plays EN next turn somewhere, or NE, that would just be phenomenal if she sees that possibility. It would also be great if in the chat if you could point out any other likely outcomes that you can see her going for. That would be great. I'm sure there are more cool things given the bag. So Zev Coffin points out antidote. That is also a great idea here. And I guess that especially last turn was probably what he was referring to when she still had the D. But
oh, yeah. Austin, he's sniffing it out. Yeah, so playing just Bud here gets rid of that sneaky possibility, and that's definitely something Austin's thinking of in this position. And look how much time he has left. He's only used 7 minutes. Cecilia's down to under 4 minutes. He could just play Bistro and JO. Wow, that's a nice play there. But I think keeping the board closed is a great idea here. He can deal with any of the openings she tries to make when she makes them, because right now there's just nothing going on here at all on this board. So I like that decision by Austin. And he plays so fast. He's playing so fast this game.
Yeah, so that definitely is like the very opportune time. It would have crushed him if she got a huge play like Ravigote this turn. So really well done. And if you're Cecilia now, it's really hard to figure out a good strategy here. The board, as like the only spot on the board for 7 contiguous tiles, don't have any tiles even able to connect that spot. In the top right quadrant, those are the only places where 7 tiles could fit right now for the most part, unless you do some crazy overlap somewhere. So I think she'll need to try to open up that spot, but it's going to be really hard to do that in a way that doesn't allow for Austin to block all the time. The V is actually a really good tile for this, just because if you play the V in the middle of a word and put vowels in consecutive spots adjacent to the V, it could allow for it to be hard to block everything since the V doesn't take 2-letter words, so you can't make parallel plays like Austin did for app, for instance, after lewd. So I actually like the idea of keeping the V here and waiting for the right time to try to open up the top right part of the board, probably using the V so that you have 2 different bingo lanes that can't both be blocked. And so this is the right idea, I think.
That's going to be really tough. Like you would have to play, I think, something down to the L, putting the V 4 spots above the L or something. So it is a very interesting and it's a good theme to know. Like the V can be used for defense, but it could also be used to fork the board because there are no 2-letter words with the V. But yeah, she just elects to score as many points as she sees, which is definitely a good option when you're down by so much. But she's really going to have to rely, I think, here on a 9-letter possibility or even a 10-letter possibility from the PO, lewd, and app. That's probably her main idea here, is playing from there. So hey, we'll see. She could have drawn into post something maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, if I were Austin here, I would have played 3 tiles, even though Oi is such a good play for keeping tires, but there are only 16 unseen. And so if you take 2 out of the bag, there are 14 unseen. So if Cecilia somehow miraculously bingoed this turn and pulled another bingo out of the bag, that would have been her likeliest route to win. Whereas if you play off 3 tiles, there would only be 6 in the bag, so she could only theoretically even get 1 bingo left. So, but again, this is like a very nuanced, picky thing I'm saying. Oi is a perfectly good play when you're up like Austin is. I think his play is really good still.
Wow, so she exchanged everything here. Maybe, did she keep the O and the S or just the S here?
She kept cost, so she exchanged VCT.
Okay. And now she has a really nice rack. It's just does it fit anywhere? Probably. I mean, she has a 9-letter word. That would be amazing. Austin now might be like, okay, time to shut down those even less likely possibilities. He was close to mention in the chat. He's close to posterity last turn, and there's a mention of maybe Cecilia trying to fish for evaporator through the AP and the O, which would just be insane. It wouldn't score anything, but it would be really, really cool.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. Porticos is a word.
Wow.
So that would play for the PO in off of the second P in app and the second O in lewd. But it looks like Austin's even blocking that.
He's thinking about it at least. And I mean, Porticos would be amazing. It probably won't win the game because I mean, she threw back those V's and that other C, and she might redraw those tiles, and she'll still be behind. But that would be so cool.
Yeah. So the Porticos is Porticoes. So he is blocking this. I think it's a great idea. Just I shouldn't say this all the time. He is considering blocking it, I guess. It would be a really cool idea if he realizes, well, there could be 9s, there could even be crazy 10s through the DAL or APO. If he does that, that's a really sharp move.
He is close to posterize, which is not a word. And poetizer. Poetizers is a valid word. But I always see the word posterize because I mean we're all basketball fans here. We know what happens when you get dunked on. Unfortunately, it's not a word in this game, but that would be really cool if he decided to maybe go for that himself. Instead, he's looking at something like till. I mean, does the exact same thing, just blocking that PO. Anything here probably wins for Austin, but he's just trying to make as sure as possible that he's going to get this victory.
Yeah, that's interesting. It would be cool to kind of hear his thoughts after the game, what his considerations are in a position like this. He's in really good shape to win, just because especially if Cecilia bingos, he has a comfortable margin still. He's up 105 points before even making a play this turn. So, yeah, play like
he still has so much time left. He has a lot of time to consider everything here. So he's just taking it and he's using it. And so these players, they know how to use their time. They know when to chill out and try to solve the position as best they can.
Yeah, so and Alex Seaholm points out that Till still allows composter through the PO, which is a really nice find, making dam, as in a river dam. So it wouldn't be as definite a block as Poi.
And
but,
what plays now? Like Poindexter? Is that a word?
Yeah.
There's probably still words that play like with point.
Yeah, pointers or something. Or I guess, is that quite enough? Pointers. Yeah, I think that would be 7. Yeah. So
Poinsettias. Oh.
poinsettias, like, yeah. That's a beautiful find.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still fits. I mean, I don't know if the letters are available. But now in this position, Cecilia's like, okay, he stopped scoring. So let me see if I can do something about that. She's probably looking to score herself and hope to get a very late bingo.
Yeah, could she maybe play 6 tiles to the DE and Bud and Azine to open the board and empty the bag, but you'd have 7 tiles on your rack?
She could. I'm seeing the option suggested by Quackle of Recto and Hobo. That will score 25 points. Maybe put her within range that a bingo will do it for her. But it's just incredibly tough. I mean, just look how compact this board is. Austin's doing a great job of really. Okay, so she plays Road to set up the T for Trode, which is really nice play.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so she could have played Beast Road there, burning the blank and emptying the bag. That would have scored a lot of points. And I wonder if that would have been a better idea, just because she would have needed to score a turn and be able to, and be able to bingo after. I'm wondering if Beast Road was the play there with blank B. But it's nitpicking at this point. Would have been pretty unlikely regardless.
Yeah, I think at this point you really just have to hope for a miracle, however you put it. I mean, scoring a lot of points with Beastrode is a great idea here. Now Austin plays his second option of Till, really just blocking everything. He has that T for Trode, but he knows that Cecilia probably has her own T, so he's making a play somewhere else on the board, but you can see that interferes perfectly with the lane above Road. So that's a great play by Austin, and I think Cecilia's run out of time again. She has to just play something. I think it's game over at this point.
Yep, but as a reminder, Cecilia was up 3-0 before this, so Austin will get his first win and make it 3-1, start clawing back. This is the best 4 out of 7 series, so he needs every win from here on out. This game is brought to you by the North American Scrabble Players Association. If you want to learn how to play in tournaments like this, go to scrabble.zone/info to learn more. If you want to start playing on Scrabble GO, the phone app, hold up your phone to the QR code on the bottom right of your screen, and you can download it today. Also, remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I guess like this video and then subscribe to the channel to get more content like this.
There seems to be some sort of glitch here. I don't think Austin is responding here, but yeah, I mean, what else is going on here? It's going to be 1-3 in Cecilia's favor. We can see she's made her play, but it hasn't registered. So we might be looking at some short delay here while we get back to you guys. But yeah, I mean, look at these games so far, Morris. Like, they've been really, really tactical. The boards have been very interesting, pretty close, honestly, for what I was expecting from these two players, who both seem to like making openings.
Yeah, I think it feels to me that both are playing it a bit on the safer side. I think once they get a lead, they don't want to blow it here. And maybe that's some like survivor bias from lasting this long in the tournament and seeing, for instance, other players like in the semifinals be a bit more open and lose games because your opponent was able to rally back. So It will be interesting to see if they play a bit looser in these next few games, but they're both just playing excellently, very conscious of available plays, and also very thoughtful of the available plays which they make. I often like to say, when you get to a higher and higher level of Scrabble, it moves from a word finding game to a word decision making game. And you can really see that here. Let's actually go to the final game screen, since we had to cut that before break, since one of the players kind of system to transfer what you're seeing on their phone to their computer.
So Cecilia played Scent. We saw her make that play, but not on Austin's screen. Austin played Vyers and Hobbs. He drew that V. And Cecilia played CIST under Gaudier, and Austin went out with IE Ice. And that's a 477 to 374 victory for Austin.